Hi and welcome to the channel. Tonight we're going over the PRIMEWELD Cut 60. I paid $679 for this machine. It does run on 110 volt and 220 volts. That was one of the primary reasons I picked it up, was the 110 volt ability that it had. A lot of times out on the job site you can't get the electrician in to hook up the dryer plug prior to you visiting the site, so a 110 volt machine just makes sense for my applications. Anyway, let's kind of look at some of the controls on the front. Here we have the pressure knob. You depress this in, you can change the pressure, and when you pull it out, that locks it. When you're setting the pressure though, you want to flip the switch to the up position. That allows the air to flow through the gun just like you're using the torch. It does change. As you let go of the plasma torch, the pressure is going to come up a little bit. So then when you engage the torch, the pressure is going to drop a little bit. So set your pressure with the button up. It says set air. Once you get it right, pull the knob out, that locks it. Your second knob here is your voltage. It has an inner track of numbers. Like right here is 25 volts at 110 volts. It's also 40 at 220. This is your post flow. That's the amount of air that's going to blow through the torch after you let go of the trigger to keep the nozzle cool so you're not burning up consumables. I set mine at 30 when I was using it. It seemed a little long, but I do have very little experience with a plasma cutter, so I was playing it safe. I wanted that extra air to go through the gun. Also, here is your ground plug. We can take a look at the ground plug itself here. It's a push twist lock, very standard. On this side we have our ground clamp. Very heavy duty spring on the back. Quite a bit of pressure on that. Your contacts in here are solid copper. And it's a pretty heavy gauge wire. So I think this is going to be decent. I don't foresee any issues with that. I like to use these a cheat. Keeps things up and out of the way here in the shop. Let's take a look at the torch. This is the end of the torch that plugs into the machine. You're going to notice right here there's a little plastic square. That's for indexing it into the machine, so you know that you have it in the proper location. Once it slides in, all you need to do then is thread this into place. Quite simple. The torch is an IPT60. It does have this little OSHA friendly safety, and believe me, you might want to keep that on there. Put your finger under it, press the trigger. Here's your close look of the consumables. The cable itself is quite pliable. I had no issues with it being hard or not pliable, not wanting to move as I was moving. What I was doing is I was putting this over my shoulder. You can do it whichever way that you prefer doing it. This is just what I was doing when I was using the machine. And I found it quite easy to maneuver around my fixture that I had made to cut my C channel that I was working on. So that's our torch. And it comes with this little plastic guy. And I like to keep that on there because I'm not always, it's not always plugged into the machine. So I like to keep that on there, kind of protects it. And then we're going to hang this up. The machine is also shipped with a 220 110 conversion plug. You're going to plug the machine into this end and then plug this side into a 110 outlet. There is no switch on the back of it to convert it from 220 to 110. It detects the voltage, does the change all automatically. You don't have to do a thing. I like that. That's cool. Let's take a look at the back of the machine. And believe it or not, the machine actually does have a little bit of weight to it. On the back of the machine, we have a CNC port in case you plan on controlling this with a breakout board, a bob, whether you're using Fusion, Mach 3, or Bobcad, anything like that. This is the power cord, 30 amp, 3-prong dryer. Here's your air inlet, and you definitely want to have a dryer on your compressor. I have a 3-stage dryer. Just helps your consumables, you know, your post airflow, keep that air, keep the tip cool, no moisture going into it. It truly helps. It has an onboard fan right here. There is no power button. All you have is the breaker here. So to turn the machine on, you're going to turn the breaker on. That turns the machine on. The whole case is metal. The outer protector corners here, these are plastic. But everything else on the machine is metal. It seems to be well made. Flip it around. I picked this machine up to do steel handrails, to cut C-channel, the little. Now you can get pre-punched C-channel for level rails. Where I'm at, no one had pre-punched for rake. When you rake steel, what ends up happening on a 1/2 inch square bar, you have 1/2 inch on one side, but it can extend out to almost 3/4 of an inch once a triangle hole. No one in this area sells pre-punched C-channel for that. So we bought regular C-channel. We used this machine to cut all our holes. Minimum cleanup. We ran it on 110. Now granted, it's only 1/8 inch C-channel. It literally like a hot knife through butter. So simple. The next thing that we used it on was, instead of drilling the holes for the base plates of the newel posts, we use 1/4 inch thick steel plate. Then what we do is we use a 1 inch, it's a 1 inch square bar, 1/8 inch wall. We weld that to the plate. We make those about 12 inches tall. Then there's an 1.25 inch steel tube that goes over top of that. We can move that back and forth to where we get level. 2 holes in that 1.25 inch. We weld right through that into the 1 inch inner bar that's welded to the plate. We cut all that. The 1/4 inch plates, cut it fine. Very minimum cleanup. We did it on 110 volts. I personally think, I have not done it, I personally think this machine would easily cut 3/8 steel on 110. On 220, I have no clue. If it performs as well as it does on 110, I don't see where it would have any problems going up to maybe 5/8 of an inch and doing clean cuts. When I say clean, I don't want a lot of slag all over the end of my cut. I want to lightly hit it with a grinder and walk away. You know, could I cut 1/2 inch on 110? It might do that, but it's not going to be a clean cut. I do think that it would do 3/8 though on 110. Anyway, if you're thinking about getting one of these little guys, I think it's a good purchase, especially if you're doing handrails and you're doing C-channel like that. You have no place to come in with your saw, make your cut. If you got to come right on the center of the plate, this just made easy work of it. How I gauge a tool is how fast does it pay for itself. In my case, with the amount of time that this machine saved us on this job, it paid for itself on the first job. That's my kind of machine. I like that. Now, everything that this machine does from now on, it's profit. Anyway, hope you liked the video. Have a great night, and God bless.